The FIA is looking to crack down on social media abuse as they install new technologies to bring an end to this horrible thing that happens to many people in the paddock. We have Helmut Marko, who is channeling his inner conspiracy theorist as he brings up a potential theory about a former Mercedes employee. We have Lewis Hamilton calling Sebastian Vettel's retirement unexpected. And we have a bunch of headlines and storylines going into Brazil. Let's get right into it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Formula One Digest. I'm joined by my co-host Mark. And Mark, we have an interesting piece of news coming out of Brazil as the FIA is looking to introduce new technologies to stop social media abuse. Mark, this is something that we have seen throughout most of this season, and I think it's been the most relevant this season as we have media member Naomi Schiff, who is awesome, by the way, in my opinion, getting a lot of social media abuse, and a lot of drivers have had to talk about it. We've seen a lot of things going on with these drivers where they talk about abuse and how they get hate and stuff like that. Mark, I think this does so much for the sport if they try to bring an end to this. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all of these drivers at the end of the day are friends and they're racing each other week in, week out. Like, there's not many people new joining the grid in the form of drivers. Usually, we do get the odd substitution driver come in, but they're all just friends, and it's senseless to hear all of this abuse going on to the media personnel, to the drivers, fans being divided, booing Lewis Hamilton in Mexico and Checo even, you know, trying to stop the fans from booing. Like, you saw him at the podium ceremony and he was going like this: "Stop booing, guys,
Yeah,
stop
like,
booing."
yeah.
Yeah, it's insane to see, all of this hate towards even Naomi, one of the women in the paddock. It's senseless. It doesn't need to happen. It's happening all over social media. It's not just in F1. It's in all forms of social media. And it's great to see that the FIA is actually doing something about it.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think that it's a step in the right direction for all sports, and I think a lot of sports should really start to follow that kind of trend because the truth is that sports are way more fun, in my opinion, when people are united and we can agree on something. I'm all for debates, but when it gets to a point of hate and just aggression, that's when you need to draw a line. And I think Max Verstappen said it best when he was asked about the hate that Naomi Schiff has gotten. And he basically said that these people are kind of cowards and they're hiding behind their screens because they know that the person is not going to see them ever. You know, they wouldn't dare do it to my face. And I think Max is a driver who probably gets maybe some of the most hate, especially after what happened last season and even this season where he's been a dominant force. There are a lot of Mercedes fans and a bunch of other fans that are probably upset. So, you know, I think it's really good that the FIA is looking to crack down on this because honestly, I think it'll do the sport so much better. And even earlier this year, for people who follow the F1 Instagram account, they did a mini campaign. I believe it's still going where all the drivers and even some FIA officials basically said, if you're gonna support hate or be aggressive online, then you're not our fans and you're not part of this sport. And I think that's the best way to go about it because, you know, these are people too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, they're humans. Humans make mistakes. Even towards Michael Massey, there was no need for people to, you know, do hateful things. He was getting death threats. He was getting hate mail. Like, there was no need for any of that stuff. He made a mistake. It was well in his right to do so. I'm not defending him or supporting him at all in any way, but you know, it's it's not needed in sports, and we see it all over sports. We see it now in FIFA. they're having their own scandal with hate. It's we kind of have to band together and you know give it a chance, give people a peaceful, safe space to just do what they love to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Twitter's probably one of the worst places to find hate because there are going to be people that have sense and that are nice, and then there are going to be others that kind of trend towards just borderline, just aggression. And it makes me actually, because you brought up the death threats, it reminds me of a couple of years ago on the Toronto Maple Leafs. There was a guy named James Reimer who was our goaltender. He didn't play well for a huge stretch of games, and he wasn't on social media, but his wife was, and his wife was receiving terrible things. And guys, it's a sport, and they compete, and if it doesn't go your way, then let's move past it. So you've heard it here first at the F1 Digest. We're following the trend. End hate. We can roast each other once in a while, but let's keep it all somewhat positive for the most.
Keep it positive in our comment section too.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Moving on, of course. Now, Helmut Marko is probably one of the strangest dudes I think this year. He's done a lot of shady stuff and some stuff that people think is just weird. This is like as crazy as it gets, as Helmut Marko is accusing an FIA employee of leaking the Red Bull cost cap for 2021 to Mercedes because this FIA employee was a Mercedes driver. I mean, a Mercedes employee. Sorry, I was fighting a sneeze.
You know what? I wouldn't put it past Helmut Marko, even if he was right. He probably is. It's like I said earlier, it's a small community. Everyone knows each other. I'm going to bring up the 2008 market crash. There were people who used to work for the SEC who then went on to work for big banks. People who work for teams sometimes then go on to work for the FIA. So, the connections and relationships are still there with your former employers. So you kind of, at your discretion, share little bits and pieces of information. It may not have been a full divulgence that, Red Bull went over the cost cap. It could have been something in passing, like, oh, this one team, they spent a little bit more than the rest of you guys. It might not have been point blank that Red Bull had gone over the cost cap, but, it's little bits and pieces of information because also at the end of the day, they sign waivers, they sign releases. They're held accountable for their actions. I know in my job, I'm not allowed to divulge any information to anyone else. You might experience it in your own job. So you kind of might say something anecdotally. It kind of might be a bit of this, a bit of that. You're sitting around with your lads having a beer. You might just say something and it might just slip.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that, obviously because it's a Mercedes employee, that's why Helmut's kind of saying this. I don't know if it would be the same if it was a McLaren or Alpine, but yeah, I don't know. I just think that, just get past it. You were caught. You did do it. Let's just move past it. I think that he's kind of trying to draw it out, probably just trying to get some drama in, maybe try and get somebody fired. Like, I don't really know, but no, but in all honesty, I think that, what's happened has happened, and you got to move past it because you were caught with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's also just a crazy old man too. So
yeah, I know. But you know what? I bet that he tears it up.
Oh, for sure.
He's been tearing up the league, 5-time champ. Anywho, guys, moving on, we have some news regarding Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, who have such a great friendship, and it looks as though Hamilton was caught unexpected when Vettel announced his retirement, and he calls it an unexpected retirement. And personally, Mark, I don't know about you, but I think everyone saw that Seb was going to retire in the next year or so because Aston Martin wasn't anywhere near where he would want to be. He wants to be racing for wins and stuff. I think he still has that fire in his belly to win. Same as Fernando Alonso, but he took a gamble on Aston Martin and it just hasn't worked out for him.
No, I think you're right. I saw this coming, honestly, even since last year, even when he got that podium in Azerbaijan. I didn't think that Seb would want to continue. I didn't really see, the passion in the sport anymore. He was fighting for decent points, but, this year he's hardly making it out of Q3. He's hardly scraping up the points he wants to get and the points that Aston Martin need to get. So, I wouldn't necessarily call this surprising at all. And you know what? Lewis might say that he's Seb's friend and all, but I personally think that Lewis is fake. Lewis doesn't necessarily come across as the most genuine person at all. If you listen to some of his radio messages, it just kind of seems fluffed up for the media, and kind of just something that you would hear, a Hollywood movie star say on the red carpet.
Yeah, I know we were just talking about positivity, but when it comes to Lewis, this isn't a criticism because I'm sure that he is a nice guy, but I think that when you look at how he kind of conducts himself, I like to say he's very PR based. He knows exactly what to say. He knows how to get the crowd on his side. So without fail, I've noticed after every race, he'll thank the crowd or he'll say, this crowd is great. He knows how to get the crowd on his side, and I think that that's how he kind of wins them over. I think that they do have a genuine relationship because Seb seems to also go and be friends with Lewis, but I don't know. I think that if they were really friends, I think Lewis would have had a better idea of where Seb's head was.
I'll say this. Seb stayed after the British Grand Prix and cleaned up the stands. Where was Lewis when that was happening?
Yeah.
Where was he? He's this environmentalist, vegan who wants to save the planet, but couldn't spend 5 minutes with Seb to clean up the stands.
Oh dear God. Yeah, no, I think that it's gonna. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much to say about that. But yeah, no, I just think that Seben and Lewis are probably our friends, but probably not to the level that we think. I don't think any of us thought that his retirement was unexpected. I think we may have thought he had one more year left in him, but I guess he decided to call it early. And Seb even said, because there was an article published by the Toronto Sun folks, and it basically was calling out Seb for being an environmentalist, but then being an F1 driver. I think stuff like that has also impacted how he feels about F1, and as a result, he's retiring at the end of this year. We have seen some flashes of greatness. We saw him at the U.S. Grand Prix, and if anyone watched his onboard cam, after beating Kevin Magnussen for I think it was P9 or P8, he put his arm in the air and he was so happy. That's the Seb that I think we all want to see as the season ends. And I'm gonna play the segment if I can remember what. There it is, the Sebastian Vettel Overtake Award.
1 million jelly
dedicated
beans.
to Seb. I'm gonna put that out there because you know what, Seb's a beauty, and we love Seb here on the program.
Maybe he'll go race in Formula E.
Maybe it is electric, so. Anywho, guys, so of course we have a race weekend. Racing is back once again. Second last race. Bit of a shed of a tear because this season is ending and it feels like it just started. And we are in Brazil, folks. Like one of the best races of the year. What a thriller it was last year. I'm expecting a thriller this year. And here are some of the storylines that we are going to be following as we head into Brazil, Mark. The first one that I'm really excited for is Checo versus Charles for P2 in the championship. I know it's not P1, and I know that it really doesn't matter all that much unless you win the championship, but I think it would be unbelievably special to have a Red Bull 1-2 to just show their complete and utter dominance. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, it would be awesome to see them have get that one too. And Checo worked hard for it his whole entire career in F1. This would be the greatest achievement that he's had in the sport. Otherwise, if he ever gets the chance to win the championship, I mean, that would be even greater. But that might not happen, sad to say. But yeah, it would be awesome to see him achieve that. It would also be awesome to see Charles achieve that. He has been through a lot in his very short F1 career. And, even with all the strategy blunders that Ferrari's had, I think that, it would be nice to see a consolation prize at the end of the season for Charles if he can manage to uh, do that, and if Ferrari can manage to give him a strategy that allows him to do something like that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that this race will probably decide it. I actually maybe not. It depends how it finishes. I think it could go to Abu Dhabi, but I think one of them has to. I think Actually, no. Mathematically, I think they both are still in it for P2 still, and it's really tight.
Yeah, no, they definitely are. Checo has 280 points right now, and Charles has 275. So, regardless of what happens here this weekend, it's going to go down to
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi for sure. Uh, George is out of the picture with 231 points, and Lewis is way out of the picture with 216.
Yeah.
So it's literally now just between Checo and Charles. But I don't even think if Checo wins
I think the
and
only way.
Charles DNFs, that might be the only way
Yeah.
that he wins it.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to see because then Checo would have a 30-point lead. Honestly, with the way that the Ferrari strategy has been, I'm gonna throw up the Ferrari strategy just for you folks.
No!
Ferrari has been. I wouldn't put it past them to blow it in this race, but you never know.
It's also a sprint race weekend, so there are extra points up for grabs. And Ferrari has shown some great pace and great strategy calls on these in these sprint race weekends. So he could end up getting that extra 8 points for winning. Is it 8 points still? I think for winning the sprint race, and then winning the or I guess he wouldn't necessarily win. Ferrari would have to pull something magical out of the bag for him to win the race on Sunday. But it's a very real possibility that either one of them could go for pole during their sprint race, and bring it down to the wire in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, no, I think that it's gonna be really fun to watch, and I don't think Max is gonna be a support driver for this race either. I have him winning it. I've put my Mega Driver on him. I'm expecting a big win. Watch him blow it now. With listen, with the way that my luck's been in like F1, whatever. But yeah, it's gonna be really fun to watch. Another fun race to be watching is Ferrari and Mercedes because they are separated by I think only 40 points in the championship for the constructors for second. It's still really tight, Mark. I could still see Mercedes making an ultimate comeback at this point and winning it. Uh, Lewis has been on the pace. George has been on the pace. Carlos and Charles looked pretty slow in Mexico, so this weekend could be a big decider. It's not going to decide it by any means, but I think that when you look at how it's going to be going, I think that we're definitely going to have a fun race all around this weekend.
Absolutely. And another two teams that are really close are Alpine and McLaren. That's another battle that I'm really looking forward to watching. I know that Alpine has a really fast car. If you've seen their top speeds and the speed traps, they're blowing every team out of the water in most races. And McLaren might not necessarily have the car this weekend. Brazil is a difficult track, and it might not suit the needs of the McLaren, but we'll have to keep an eye on that battle for sure.
Definitely, definitely. It's going to be fun to watch the end of the race. It's going to be carefree racing, as David Croft said. It's just going to be fun to watch. And the driver I'm going to put to be on the watch for this weekend isn't Max Verstappen, but Lewis Hamilton, guys. This is probably Lewis's favorite track aside from Silverstone. He was recently made a honorary Brazilian citizen, and this is obviously a track that means a lot to him because of his hero, Ayrton Senna. We're going to have to see what Lewis does. He was on the pace in Mexico. Obviously, that Red Bull's a powerhouse, but if Mercedes gets their strategy right, Lewis could win it, and I wouldn't put it past him because this is probably where he's going to try his hardest to win.
This could even be his last chance to win a race. It would be insane to see him go winless this season.
I wouldn't complain. Positively complain. Anyway, guys, you guys have been the best if you made it this far. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We appreciate all the support, and we're gonna see you guys probably after the sprint race. And yeah, let's enjoy Brazil and what's left of the season.